Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday morning. Uh, we'll go ahead and get started. The last time we spoke, last Monday, I spoke from an article that I had found that from a one of the teachers that I like that named Benner, who sent out an article, and in the article he was making a comparison between the burning bush and the burning sword in Genesis, and saying could the burning bush also be a doorway to the Garden of Eden. So we kind of hashed that idea around and talked about it for a while, uh, and looked at it. We talked about mainly on Monday. However, we also had a question from the book of Zechariah that we left open because we didn't have time to really open that up and look at it. So what I did was uh, text those verses to the teachers, and hopefully we've had a chance to take a look at that and can speak to it a little bit. Okay, but that's where we were Monday, and I guess we'll open it up like we normally do before I get to Zachariah and see if we have any questions at all, anything that may have grabbed your attention this week. Okay. Well then,
Uh,
yes, sir.
you're again at the end. Um, I asked a couple of weeks ago about coming back together,
Okay.
and I mentioned it rather, and I got some suggestions as to how we could facilitate that. And during the interim time, I have been advised how COVID has beginning to rear its head again. And right now, I am at an impasse when it comes to um, even suggesting that we do that in mass. However, I will say that one of the suggestions that was a lot of sense and that I lean towards, and it came from more than one person, is it comes together at least once a month and designating that what part of that month we will be coming together to interact with each other. However, right now with this upsurge, I'm not even sure of that. And I do have questions about that as well. I don't want to delve too deeply into it because I do know you have a question on the table in Zechariah. But at some point, um, I hope to be able to express what I am experiencing when it comes to this upsurge in COVID. When I say experience, I'm not talking about by way of having COVID, but my experience, I'm talking about experiencing what I am seeing internally in regards to this upsurge. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Kathy, are you on the line? I think this question came from Kathy Neal.
Yes.
Monday. How you doing, Kathy? As I understand it, your question was trying to gain some understanding from Zechariah chapter 1, verses 18 through 21. Correct?
Yes.
Has anyone had a chance to take a look at that? What do we see from this?
This. Good morning. This is Barbara. This sort of
Hey, Barbara.
concern. Hey, this concerns. I guess the period of time, the 70 years exile in Babylonia, and if you go back to the first verse, it frames verses 18 through 21, and in that first verse, I'll just summarize it. It just refers to the 70 years, and the messenger is saying that he saw horses and what's of them, and the Most High shared with him that these looked over all the earth and said that everything was under control. And he gave Zechariah a message that he cared deeply for Jerusalem, and he was very possessive of them. He was angry with the godless nations that had acted as if they owned the world. Jerusalem and Judah and Israel had been kicked around for centuries. They had been stomped in the ground. It was just God was not even present, but God was always there. So he selected Zechariah. Zechariah's name means Yah has remembered, or okay, Jerusalem, now's your time again. God has remembered. And so Zechariah shared the words of the Most High with the people. And it's like an announcement. Talked about the horns. It's like an announcement that you blow the horns, and here's an announcement. Here's an official announcement from he who is, or that which is royalty. So Zechariah served as that messenger to the people, and was given several visions. One was a vision of the four riders on the horses. The second vision was the riders' four horns, signified the armies that had scattered God's people to all four corners of the earth. And I don't mean four corners because there really aren't any corners in the earth, but the four corners signifies the whole world. And It was the world as they knew it then. Third vision was about a tape measure and all of that. But anyway, Zechariah 1:18 involved the second vision of the four horns. And it was simply saying, what's the meaning of this? And the response was, these are those folk in the world who have driven God's people all over the world, has scattered them, has stomped on them, has abused them. And the thing about this is that not only was he speaking to what had happened to the people, but he spoke to what had happened to the people's minds in a sense. I mean, they had been plundered and assaulted and abused for so long that they forgot who they were, almost, in a sense. They lost. It's sort of like the African. So much has happened. So much baggage has been put on top of them that the African has forgotten who he was. So that's sort of what this is about. And it's a reminder that Zechariah is sort of like coming and waking the people up in a sense. You know what? I want to remind you who you were. And that it's time to move on. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Let's say that. Thank you.
Hey, Ron, what scripture that was taken from Zechariah?
I'm sorry, Charles. Zechariah chapter 1, verses 18 through 21.
Thank you, man.
No, I should have mentioned that to begin with. My mind was wondering, and I didn't say that. Zechariah chapter 1, verse 18 through 21. Does anybody else want to add to what Barbara said?
Zechariah is like a time capsule. So my question is, how does that relate to us today?
Thank you. That's where I was going next. Where are we today? I'll start it off because I know more than Miss B is giving some thought to this. So I agree with everything she said and why she was talking. I see this as, first of all, the temple is you, and we know that the building of the temple. As she mentioned, you've been through a lot. You've endured a lot through the strengths and the authorities of the earth. You know, the African no longer knows or has a hard time grasping who and what he is and what he means to the universe. So you're scattered is your thoughts. We're all over the place in the things we value. And I was thinking back even at the start of the old temple, when they built the temple, when they were in the wilderness, coming and God told them for those of you who want to, you don't have to do this. And those are my words, how I said it, I'm saying it. But for those of you who want to do this, take your gold and your silver and all your things. He told them how to build the temple. Well, all of that is misunderstood. All of that is misunderstood the same way we misunderstand the sacrifices. All of this is an internal thing. The universe is the internal, and that part of it where he says the gold and the silver. Where did they get the gold and the silver? They got it when they were coming out of Egypt. Remember, they got those things then, and they were leaving Egypt. So, in other words, all these things that you have come to value, all these things that are important to you, all these concepts, all these principles, all this materialism, all these things that you think are important, all these things that you think that makes you godly, that I want you to have, I want you to give it up. This is your opportunity to give it up. And if you give these things up, you will see who you truly are. It is about finding yourself. Here you are again. You're rebuilding this temple, and it talks about how scattered you are. Your thoughts are scattered again. Your thoughts are scattered again. America, the African who's in America, you have no idea who you are.
Ron? Ron, did you mute yourself? Can anyone hear Ron speaking?
I think we lost you, Ron.
We missed most of what you said because we didn't hear it until
Yeah.
just now.
Okay. Uh, oh, okay. Let me just you are this temple. You are the temple that is talking about rebuilding here. And when it talked about did you hear me, the four corners again? Uh, those authorities and the scattering of Judah, the scattering of Israel, the scattering of Jerusalem. We know what those principles are. The Jerusalem talks about not only a place of peace, it is the wholeness of who you are. It is the completion of who you are. Judah is that thanks, that authority, that praise that's in you, that thanksgiving that's in you. So all of these things, Israel is the part of you that wrestled with yourself and that gave up all of those things that did not seem like the truth to you. So it is when you made the decision that I want to desire truth. I'm going to follow this. I want to know who I am. So all of those principles have been compromised. That's the scattering of them. All kind of stuff has been put in our minds. So as we talk, and I'm specifically, as Barbara said this to us today, the African who is in America, all the stuff that you hear, all the stuff that you see, all the stuff that the church puts out, all the stuff that people talk about, Christianity and whatnot, has you in a confused state. So the building back of the temple is you seeing who you are and recognizing who you are and making that turn, making that decision that this is what I want, versus going along with what is in the earth now.
Ron, I have a question.
Okay.
So you're saying we are Solomon's temple as well?
Yes, I am. The temple represented us taking an inward look at ourselves, taking a stance of who you are. Everywhere you see in the scripture where it talks about the temple, everywhere you see in the scripture where it talks about sacrifices and what's the other word? Offerings. It is a bringing together of everything here and now. It is a bringing together of the presence that you are. It is not looking at the past. It is not looking at the future. It is seeing yourself for who you. It is that type of opportunity. So when we look at this, which I hope we get a chance to look at this in depth and some other scriptures and to see this, this is where we are. So it's no coincidence that Kathy brought this up with the temple. This is you looking internally at yourself and bringing everything together. And I know somebody can explain this a lot better than I can. Please help me.
Before we get to the temple, and I agree with what you said in response to Evan's question, let me preempt what I'm about to say with this. The reason that we are constantly searching and the reason that we are continuously asking questions is because of having lost an understanding of who we are. And the search is to find out, and the question is to find out, to understand rather, what we have found out about ourselves. When I look at the scripture in relationship to what has been said about it this morning, what I'm seeing here is that the scattering of Judah, the scattering of Jerusalem and Israel, and who's doing the scattering has been said It is the powers that be, the authorities that control this earth, the consciousness of this earth. And the powers that control the consciousness of this earth are not the secular governmental powers. The control of this earth is in the hands of those who control the disbursement of religious principles. And what these religious principles has done, more specifically to the African, is scattered its sense of praise, scattered its sense of expressing adoration for the Creator who made us in His image. Scattering meaning that having no fixed understanding, no solid foundational principles for praise or adoration, being broken into pieces, not knowing how to do this. Thinking in one generation, adoration is expressed by certain beats in music, or it's expressed by doing exterior things or doing material things. Then the scattering of righteousness, not realizing that religion is the most unrighteous set of principles in action than anything else on the earth. And the reason I say that is because when you can take the principles of religion and you can destroy physically the body of your fellow human and not have any qualms about that, or when you can sit in a congregation and the people who need you the most are the ones who get the least attention from you, the ones who has the quote-unquote greater education or more money are the ones who get your attention. Righteousness is being scattered to the extent that you don't even know what it looks like anymore. And you come to believe that you are righteous simply because you say you are righteous. And when you look at all of these posters and signs and marquees purporting to understand what the scriptures are saying, when you read them, they make no sense whatsoever in relationship to what God is telling us. So this is an example of scattering of righteousness. And the scattering of Israel means that there is no solid group of people who are truly seeking our Creator, who are truly seeking to know who they are, who are truly seeking to understand themselves. And more to the point, the African is the one who is the eye for the earth consciousness, and it has been scattered to the extent that it doesn't even love itself anymore, and is looking for light in the wrong places. Is looking for light in religion, and we know who the fathers of religion are, and understanding that the European is the father of religion, then everything that we think that is light looks like the European, when that is not even a facsimile of light. It is false light. It is a type of light that rejects everything, meaning that the manifestation of the rejection of this light is that white rejects every color, or white and all colors, and colors are energy. So white rejects all energy, and black absorbs all energy. So a manifestation of this scattering can be seen in the way that this world is functioning currently. And the way that it's functioning currently is by virtue of a material, reckless warrior power as opposed to spiritual power. And when we really think about it, we have been taught that the world is going to hell in a handbasket. The world is so bad, and the world is getting worse. And we've been taught those things. Yet at the same time, we've been told that prayer changes things. Well, if prayer changes things, then why are you continuing to talk about how bad the world is? It simply means that subconsciously you don't believe what you're saying. Because if you believe that prayer changes things, then you're looking for, expecting at the very least, a change in what you are praying for. So all of these principles that we have been taught that is light or enlightenment. They are not. They are a false light that is being perpetuated by the vicious, savage powers that have conquered the consciousness of this earth and seek to infuse into this consciousness everything that is going to keep them in power, everything that is going to put a mirror of fear, a mirror of lack of self-awareness in the face of those, the African in particular, who must become aware of who it is in order for the earth to change. And this whole concept about praying to change things, in the sense that we've been taught that is a method to keep things as they always have been, not always been, as they are and as they have been since the powers that are in, the powers that control now has been in charge. So when we look at prayer from the standpoint of meditation means to look inwardly, open yourself up to the universe, receive the messages from the angels, which means that receive the messages from the Creator, and ponder those messages. And these are the messages that gives us a greater understanding as to who we are, and begin to show us that what we have thought was light is simply the oppressor, and what we have been presented as light are those things that keep us in bondage and keep us believing that there can be no change in our lives until we go to a heaven, and that heaven that we go to is a heaven that is segregated. And so until we begin to come face to face with what's real in terms of earth consciousness and how we got to where we are, we will remain scattered. And so our objective is to bring unity, or to bring humanity to a place of unified balance, so as to be able to understand what it means to be to express adoration for the universe itself and our Creator, what it means to be righteous as opposed to just saying you are, and what it means to be Israel as opposed to sending war planes and weaponry into a geographical location of Europeans and empowering them to dominate people of color in that area. I'm done.
Okay, questions, comments, y'all? Anyone else? Thank you, Pastor. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just go ask those who have spoken to this, as well as Kathy, who brought the question, is that clear? Or does it make sense to them?
Yes, to me, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to ask Ms. Barbara. She asked the question, what does it mean to us today? And I started talking. I didn't give her a chance to. I didn't know she had some insight into that as well. I hope I didn't cut you off. If I did, I apologize.
No, not at all. What I wanted us to talk about was exactly what we talked about. The fact that that Zechariah's questions and his comments were not only for that period of time. It's where we are right now, like a time capsule. And the Bible is like that. All of those things are like time capsules that ask us, where are you? Like in the garden, when Adam was asked, like, where are you? Not geographically, but where are you in terms of your thinking, your spiritual thinking, your knowledge of who you are. So all of that, all that you all said and what Pastor just said, just resonated very deeply. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kathy, thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else?
Hey, Ron, this is Charles.
Hey, Charles.
What I was getting at is what Zachariah was mostly saying too. Where's the love for each other? Where's the love for the, for our God?
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
I was hearing.
Charles, that would sum up the whole book, man. That would sum up the whole works of man if we understood love, if we would awaken to love. Nothing else would need to be said or done. Yeah. So such
Ron, I have
a
a comment.
simple. Yes, ma'am.
I don't mean to cut you off. I yield.
No. I was done. I'm done. Go ahead.
I was about to say, I like what Charles said. He said about the love for our God, for source. But to
Mhm.
me, it's love for ourselves. We don't love ourselves. I mean, we use
don't.
all kind of things to fill that void. But by us being on the phone, I think we are getting there. I can only speak for me. I'm learning to love myself. I'm learning to be by myself, alone. Is it hard sometimes? Yes. Don't like the feeling, but in order for me to grow and to start loving myself, I know there's a transitional period that I have to go through, a transformation. So, Charles, I like what you said. We lost sight of who we are and source, God. Thank you.
May I add something?
Of course.
Yes, sir.
You can't grow, or you can't have a true sense of self-awareness unless you are, quote unquote, alone. And by saying alone, talking about alone with yourself, which means that you're not technically alone. You cannot see yourself, because if you are in the midst of everyone else, or always have to be around somebody, then the question becomes: are you alone with self, or are you being influenced by the energy of the ones you're around, as opposed to doing a self evaluation, or doing it, being in a state of self-awareness. It's difficult to hear from their soul if you are in the midst of others, a crowd of people. When you are alone, when you're in that place of meditation, when you're in that place of searching for an understanding of who you are hearing from your soul without interference. And it's not necessarily being around people a distraction. It is like an interference, or like electrical interference. You get static, or you really get you blink out, or just like when the storm comes, your lights may blink, and that kind of blinking takes place when you make an attempt to focus or to meditate while people around you are discussing other things, or you simply in their midst. So what I'm saying in essence is this: the greatest form of enslavement to the soul is being afraid to be without the presence of other people in your life. And when you are comfortable with being without the presence of other people in your life, you become more beneficial to them and humanity when you are in the presence of others, because of the energy forces that they are able to receive from you based upon you being aware of who you are. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
You can't.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Pastor. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
I thought so too, Ron. I'm sorry. You can't truly know whether or not you love yourself if you don't know yourself. You are in love with who you think you are, as opposed to being in love with who you are. And when you are in love with who you think you are, then you misinterpret the love of someone else, meaning that when you're in love with who you think you are, then that person who you think loves you, they are also in love with who you think you are. Because if you don't know who you are, then it's extremely difficult to be that projection of who you are, so the person or persons that you're in the midst of will be able to glean from you your presence, who you are. Does that make sense? Before I say something else.
Yes, sir.
So the other part of that is this: if you don't know who you are, then you don't speak the depth of truth about who you are and about how you are being enlightened. What you actually do is say things that people want to hear. And you say, well, I don't do that, but yes, we do that subconsciously. We do that because we have been told that that's how you maintain relationships, friendships, intimate relationships, etc. Saying what people want to hear as opposed to saying what people need to hear or saying what you truly believe. And I'm not saying being abrasive about it. I'm not saying hurting people's feelings. I'm not saying being nasty about it. I'm simply saying being a manifestation of the true nature of your essence. And you cannot possibly do that if you don't know what that is. And when you know what that is, it doesn't matter whether it's an intimate relationship, a friendship, a parental relationship. It doesn't matter what type of relationship is. All of that essence of your being, of who you are, what you represent, begins to flow from you. I'm done. Thank you.
Is that clear to everyone? Questions or comments?
I can agree with that.
Okay. Thank you, Charles.
Ron, one more thing, and I think I'm done. But anyway, I was reading this article, and it says, you are put in people's life to show them true love. They are put in your life to show you self-love. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Read it again, Evelyn.
You are put in people's life to show them true love. They are put in your life to show you self-love. And what I gathered from that was, like, if I'm in a relationship with someone and I show them true love, if I do not love, if they do not treat me the way that I feel that they should, or be reciprocal with the love, and I don't like how they are treating me, they're showing me that I don't have self-love. Not saying that how they treat me is the way they should. I don't know how to say that, but they showing you that you need to have self-love. Don't depend on me to love you. Don't depend on me to love you. You're to love yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I think Red may be expound on that.
Real sweet. I think what they're there for, well, I think what you're saying, Evelyn, if I'm hearing you right, when we talk about someone showing us how to love ourselves, I can see that in this way. The way that you allow people to treat you tells you whether or not you love yourself.
That's cut and dry. Yes. And can you say that one more time? I want to make sure everybody got it. Say it again, Pastor Jay.
The way you allow people to treat you tells you whether or not you love yourself. Let me expand on that a moment. I hear people all the time talk about how bad they're treated or how they don't like how their boyfriend, spouse, etc., significant other treats them, but they're always there. And yet they say they love themselves. If you are not settled with the way someone treats you, and you always got to explain yourself, and you always got to seek an apology from them, and you always have to apologize to them for things that you don't understand that you did that required an apology. If you're always being gaslighted or manipulated, then that means you don't love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you want the best for yourself. And those things that keep you on the edge emotionally, those things that keep you on the edge in every way of your life, those things are not good for you. And they're not healthy, emotionally or otherwise. And then if you feel like you just have to have somebody in your life, then that means that you have disappeared to yourself. If you've got to have someone in your life, actually, I see that more prevalent in females. They just got to have a man, even if he's just a piece of a man, in their life to try to make them whole. Well, if you're not whole, that man sure can't make you whole. That woman can't make you whole. Whatever it is, cannot make you whole. So what you've actually done is open yourself up to self-destruction. Because if you feel like that you got to be with someone, then where are you? If that person makes you who you are, then where are you? You are non-existent to yourself. You're unimportant to yourself. And there is no you. There is no self-identity. There is no self-awareness. Because all your identity, your awareness, and your love for yourself is tied up in whether or not that person authenticates your essence. I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
I would like to
Thank
see
you.
if anyone who wants to speak to that.
Anyone?
Pastor, I have a question. How do you respond to someone that tells you that they don't love themselves? You're showing them love. You ask the question, and they say that I think that's the problem. I don't love myself.
But see, with each person, that's different in terms of the questions that you raise in order to get to what they are saying when they say they don't love themselves. What does that look like to them? And each person is different in that regard. Now, this is what I have found in the past, and what I have found in the past is that most of the time when people are saying, but the problem is I don't love myself, they are usually making an excuse for something that they have done that they know is wrong, but they don't want to admit it, or for the mistreatment of someone, and they're trying to justify it by saying I did it because I don't love myself. Now, there are people who truly don't know how to love themselves, but more than likely, what I have seen, is that they are trying to justify something that they know is not acceptable. So there is no A, B, C, and D for everyone. Does that make sense, Rika?
Yes, sir, it does.
Thank you.
I have a question. Good morning, this is Audrey. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so I was reading further in Zechariah, into the second chapter, because I want to try to get the whole picture of what was going on. But the chapter 2, verse 4, I think it is. No, actually it's, yeah, chapter 2, verse 4. Well, I'll start from number 1, because I think it all connects together in terms of my question. Verse 1 says, "And I lifted my eyes and saw, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then I said, where are you going? And he said to me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth and what is the length." Verse 3, "And behold, the angel who talked with me came forward, and another angel came forward to meet him." And then verse 4, which is my question, "And said to him, run, say to that young man, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as villages without walls, because of the multitude of men and cattle in it. For I will be to her a wall of fire around about, says the Lord, and I will be the glory within her." So my question is, when we are a village without walls, and I know it was talking about Jerusalem and Judah and all them being scattered in chapter 1. But is that saying to us that once we sort of find ourselves, we become a part of Jerusalem, we become a village without walls? And then that, I guess that kind of ties in with loving yourself, because if you find yourself, you're able to more love yourself and become that village without a wall. Am I interpreting that correctly? That's my question.
I would say yes. With one addition to that, we don't become a part of righteousness. We become aware that we are indeed righteousness, and we are that wall. Thank you.
So we become the wall?
We become everything that's needed for humanity to be purified, protected, and be made aware of its essence. Does that make sense?
Can you elaborate
I'm
on the
processing.
wall? Yeah, can you elaborate on the wall, Pastor, please?
Read the scripture again. Audrey.
Okay. It's Zechariah 2:4. "And he said to him, run, say to that young man, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as villages without walls, because of the multitude of men and cattle in it. For I will be to her a wall of fire round about, says the Lord, and I will be the glory with her." It seems like the Creator is saying he will be the wall, we will be the village, and he will be the wall.
in this earth, you are the creator. You are that wall.
Okay.
And when it talks about the number that will be within the confines of the village, it's talking about humanity itself. And if you are the wall of righteousness, the wall of purification, then that means that you are a wall that's around humanity. And being that wall that's around humanity, you become that mirror for everyone who lives within that village. And there are so many in the village until there cannot be a wall constructed around it. You become that wall, a fire around them. No different than that flaming sword that protects the garden or the tree of life. No different than that. And by virtue of you being that wall of fire, it is up to you to make sure that you adhere to your obligation to purify the hearts of men. How do you do that? You're doing it right now by virtue of putting truth and righteousness into the macro, and by being a manifestation of that truth and righteousness, not only in earth's consciousness, but in your presence in the earth, by how you interact with other people. I'm not talking about interacting simply by talking to them or interacting by virtue of how your actions are to them. I'm talking about interacting based upon how you knowing who you are, because your interactions with other people is different based upon what you feel about yourself. When you walk into a mall or a restaurant or a store and you feel that you should not be in there because the energy is wrong, then what's happening is you are interacting with that energy in that store, and it's interacting with you, and you leave. Just as you know who you are, your energy interacts with everyone that you're around, whether you know it or not. It may be someone walking down a crowded street and pass you, and they receive something from you of what they need. It is in that sense that I see that you are the wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that help you?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, Rev, this
I
is
have a
Charles.
follow-up question. I'm sorry, I yield.
This is Charles. This all sounds like when you don't interact like that, you don't think you to me, you don't think yourself like God said you are God. Is I'm saying that correctly? Because that's the way I was saying it in there. Because if you don't interact, yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead. I missed part of that.
What I was saying, if you don't interact, of your spirit bumping with that other person's spirit, if you don't interact like that, you don't think, most people think they don't think they are God. That's why they shy away or be afraid.
Well, this is it, Charles. If you're not aware of that type of interaction, it means that you don't know who you are. It's not. I once lean towards saying that people don't know their God, but people don't know who they are. I think it's a different way of putting it that's more palatable to people who have been taught that it's impossible for you to be God. So rather than say you don't know you God, I say something like, well, you don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you're not aware of the different ways that you interact with people and they interact with you. However, when you know who you are, when you know that you are Elohim, it is impossible for you to be in the presence of anyone without having reaction. You reacted not reaction, but interaction. You are interacting with and acting with them, and they are interacting with you, whether you are aware of it or not in your mind, or whether they are aware of who they are. And that is the reason you can be in the presence of people, and they will say something different about you. I can't put my finger on it, but something is different. What is happening is they are interacting with you at a deeper level than they are aware of. And that is the reason they are not able to put their finger on it. If they know who they are, then usually they don't say anything to you about what they are experiencing in your presence. Does that make sense, sir?
Yes, I understand it more now.
Thank you, sir.
So, Pastor, okay, what you just said, you know how some people are, well, not some people, a lot of people are quick to point out that person is the devil, that person is the demon, that person is that person that. So if you're in tune with who you are and you can identify as that person being of God or God, that you keep silence about it, are you saying those that are so quick to judge and throw that demon, that evil, the devil out at someone else, that's how they see themselves?
I would say that they don't see themselves at all. Because when you see yourself in any way related to the Creator, whether you see yourself as being like the Creator in terms of being Elohim, or whether you see yourself as being a mere man created by the Creator, either way, you don't have a clue as to either one of those as to being who you are. Because even if you see yourself as being a man who's created by the Creator, and you are not the Creator itself, you're not God. Even if you see yourself as a mere man, and you know that God created you, you also know that you don't have the right to judge anyone. Judge you not, lest you be judged by the same judgment that you mete out. Meaning that the decisions that you make about someone else's being is the same criteria that's going to be used to make decisions about your being. It is no different than if you don't forgive, you will not be forgiven. So what I'm saying is this: there is no way that you can be aware of anything about God truly, or even have true desires about understanding the Creator, and call somebody a demon. And yes, I have done that out of my ignorance. And I am saying, at that point, I had no clue as to who I truly am, and I had no clue of what it meant to be the image and likeness of my Creator. I had no clue of any of that. Otherwise, I would not have made those judgmental decisions about people based upon their actions, as opposed to based upon the fearfully and wonderful way that they were created. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It does. It does. I always just wondered how somebody, okay, you're so godly and so in tune with the word, but you're so quick. And I see it with people doing that with our children. That I work around. I've heard people say stuff like that, and I'm like, you don't know what that child was going through for you to come out of your mouth and say stuff like that. But then I'm thinking in the top of my head, but you go to church every Sunday and you're so religious, and yeah, so it just always threw me off. And then when I heard you say that, and I'm saying, so are they really speaking from a place that that's how they feel about themselves? But I understand what you're saying now. They really and truly are clueless to the fact.
They are. And the reason they're clueless is because they go to church every Sunday. That's where they learned it. So the church has to be clueless. But that's exactly what they learned. What did you learn? Where did you first hear it? You didn't hear it in the street. You heard it at the church.
In the church, yes, sir.
So the church is clueless. And I know that makes some people uncomfortable, but then you don't ever become comfortable with the truth until you are discomforted by the truth. Because for all your life, you held on to this belief, this principle, to be a principle of truth. And now all of a sudden you're seeing that it's not, and that makes you uncomfortable. I'm done. That helps, Rick?
Yes, sir, it does.
Thanks. Anyone else?
A discussion, questions or comments, anyone? Something I think very valuable has come out of this, and it's not something new, but maybe just something else that needed our attention. I've been reading a lot of articles from my smartphone. When I pull up an article, look at something, it sends me other articles. A lot of things I've looked at is about slavery, people coming out of slavery, and families and people inventing this or moving that, and people be starting this business and that business, and Black people inventing this and that. And a lot of what I see is through the interactions and how these people were treated. Throughout the history of us in the Americas, we have not been taught to love ourselves. We've been taught just the opposite, that we're worthless. So when we talk about love and not loving yourself, that's not a coincidence, and it does need to be emphasized and spoken about. So the part of understanding the scripture and uncovering truth, all of that is incorporated in love and appreciating yourself and as Evelyn said, coming into that reality. You know what? I see myself different now. I express myself differently because I see a different side of me. I am worthy. I am somebody. I do love me. And when that energy goes out, it helps others to see themselves. So it's no coincidence we feel like that. That's been suppressed in us for a very long time. But I'm glad we are talking about it again, as we've talked about it before, but I'm glad we're talking about it again because I think every time it comes up, we gain more momentum and more energy from it. So thank you. Any questions or comments about anything?
It's just one thing left.
Yes.
When God corrects us, He corrects us out of love.
Yes. Yes. I agree, Charles. But it's hard to see ourselves as being whole. It's hard to see ourselves as being complete and being holy and set aside to learn and to be filled with things if we can't see the love that we are. So again, as we've talked about before, we discuss things that need to be discussed, and so today was a good day. A lot of things come out today. Hey, questions or comments, y'all? We've been on the line a little over an hour. Maybe it's a good place to take a pause if we don't have any other questions. And we will resume tomorrow then, and just see where we go. Okay? Thanks again. I hope everybody had a good thought. If not, write everything down that you see, and we'll talk about start there tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Ron. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.